The cropping is going to be same for Daggerfall as well. So exactly the same resolution and all that. Okay, mic's live. Cool. All right. Let me get out to the main menu before we do any counting down. So welcome, folks, to the start of the Elder Scrolls block. Starting off with a real hot one here in Arena.
Oh baby.
Oh yeah, it's pretty good. So I'm Purry. I'm going to be running this. Behind me is Dr. T-Chops. He is the other anthology runner, which means that we run all the games back to back to back. And we also got another rep of the DOS RPG run community with Captain Clever. He's also going to be running later in the marathon for a non-Elder Scrolls game. Boo.
Close enough.
Yep, close enough. Okay, so before we begin, there's actually something really dumb you have to do in Arena. So you might have seen there that when that a prompt loaded up, that kind of pixelated in. By default, that is on. So you actually have to hit F4 to turn that off. If you don't do that, you lose like a minute in just making your character. So after that, I load that save and then just go to new game. So now we are ready to count down and get this going. Okay. All right. Yes. 3, 2, 1, go. All right.
I love Arena.
So this is Arena. The character creation is pretty much the same between Daggerfall and Arena. You go through all these menus first before doing anything. I am refreshing my item rolls here, and I'm taking a look at the gold stat down here in the bottom left.
There you go.
That's actually good. Okay. So it's important that I have at least 190 gold, and then about 70 int is good enough. Int and speed are the only two stats you really care about. So here's Spooky Ghost Lady. We're going to see her a whole lot in Arena. And in this one, like most of the other Elder Scrolls games, we start the game inside of a prison. So the beginning of the game is actually really dangerous. It's the most dangerous part of the run, so I'm going to save there just in case things go sideways. And they've already kind of gone sideways. So there are multiple different spawn groups that you can get in this first dungeon, and we got the worst of the two.
We got rats.
Yeah, we got rats, boys. I hate scampering rats. Ooh, they just...
Scampering rats.
Scampering rats. So here we're going to punch these rats in their rat faces. This is actually required, even though they're in the way. I need to get to level 2 before I exit the first dungeon. Another thing that makes getting this spawn pattern bad is that the rats can disease you. And if you get diseased, the run is pretty much over. I'd have to load the save that I made right at the beginning. Because I'm going to be traveling away, and there's no way to cure disease this early in the game. So here I'm just going to stand around until I get to a level. So there's level 2. Gonna put these points into speed. So we actually have decent stat rolls here. And then I need to rest for exactly 1 hour here to get a Spooky Ghost cutscene. This kicks off the main story quest in Arena. Okay, something nearly killed me there, but we're fine.
We're out of the hard part, yeah.
That was pretty much the hardest part of the run. All right, so another thing that's important for Arena, I'll explain that world map later because, man, we'll have time, is that I can't really do anything in towns unless it's daytime. And it is currently kind of daytime because there's people walking around. This will probably be fine. Yeah, this is fine. If it is nighttime, it wastes a ton of time because all the doors will be locked and all the quest NPCs and important people just won't be there. So here, before I... make some spells. We don't want to drop that. We want to delete the current spells that I have in my spellbook. All characters get those spells when you start out. So I'm going to be making 3 spells here. This is why it was important that I started off with a decent amount of gold. So the first thing is an invisibility spell. Base time rounds 10 per 2 levels. So we can get that. Second spell is levitate. I name these a single character because that puts them in a very specific order in my spellbook. And then last but not least is Fortify Speed. So your speed can cap out at 100. So we're going to do our best to be near 100 for the entire run. So just buy this. Okay. And we're good to go. So that was the second hardest part of Arena. We did it.
Woo! Yeah.
Didn't screw it up.
All right. There'll be a lot more spellmaking in the future,
oh, yeah.
Don't worry.
Yeah, Daggerfall's got quite a bit more spell making. So here, as this is a relatively old DOS game, the fastest way to move is strafe running. And I don't know if the camera can pick it up or not, but I'm actually using WSAD to control this. That is not how Arena is actually like default controls. I'm running this in DOSBox and had to change the key bindings because the stock key bindings use the control key and just the arrow keys to move. And since you also have to do a lot of mouse stuff in that, that is really awkward to do, especially for a long run.
As a DOS expert, I can say that is perfectly legitimate. You can always just go in DOS and rebind things as you want to with programs.
Exactly.
Not cheating. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, definitely. Or you could just get out the soldering iron, but that's drastic. All right, so when we were in town there, we talked to the queen. The queen said she'd help us out if we helped her out first, so that's what we're doing. We're going to this dungeon here, which is totally unique. We're never going to see this dungeon again, to get this piece of paper. So when I came into the dungeon, we did it. Yep.
Ah, nice.
All right. So when I came into the dungeon, I cast 2 spells. One was an invisibility spell, very important because you will get completely wrecked by everything in here if you aren't invisible. And then I also cast the Fortify Speed. So I need to get my MP back, and that worked out perfectly. Nailed it. That was not at all random. And we're going to travel away here. So what we're doing right now is we're actually going back to town and talking to the queen to go turn that quest. And there we did it. We totally just talked to the queen. So now the queen sent us off to Fang Lair. So this is an old abandoned dwarf mine. You can see there's dwarves everywhere. There's riddles that you have to solve to open doors. So here we go. We're going to solve this riddle.
I actually kind of hated this dungeon. It was like, it's the most annoying in the speedrun, I think.
I know, right? And it's right at the beginning.
Yeah.
It's
It's
fantastic.
unfortunate. So then here we killed the goblin chieftain.
Yeah!
Got,
Good
got
fight.
a tablet.
Good fight.
Yeah. And this level up, we're going to see the screen a lot. So whenever you level up in this, it gets rid of your levitate spell. So if you get the level up screen over the water, that's not at all fast. So here I need to rest for 1 hour to get spooky ghost cutscene. Okay, there she is. Here I'm going to try and do a glitch. This is called sleepwalking. So I mentioned before that you can't really do anything unless it's daytime in Arena. You can kind of force daytime if you do this and if it works. And it didn't. Great, of course. So this is Jagar Tharn. He's the antagonist of the game. He really doesn't like that you're trying to kill him naturally. So he just taunts you a whole bunch throughout the run.
What a bad guy.
He is. So as it's currently nighttime, we got to do this. This is where you lose the bulk of time in arena runs. So I just go outside and I rest until it turns to day. I can tell it is day because the game has to pause for a few seconds to load the new music track. Because, DOS game. So here we are in beautiful Skyrim. You might recognize this from Elder Scrolls V. This is the Mage's College. It looks exactly like it does in Skyrim.
Can't confirm.
Yep. So we got that guy's quest there, and he wants to send us to Labyrinthian, which you might also remember from Skyrim. But first, we need to go and get a map tablet to Labyrinthian. So that's what we're going to do now. So we're now in the Fortress of Ice. You can see this is a very ice-covered dungeon here. There's spiders all over the place, and there's also 3 different riddle doors that we have to get past.
Yeah, one of my favorite aesthetics is right here.
Yeah, I think this is the best design of the entire game right here. It really shows off what the engine is capable of.
All right, we did. So we got
Awesome.
Got that tablet. So now that we know where Labyrinthian is.
Flawless.
Oh, I'm stuck in the wall. No problem.
This is normal.
Yeah, that's normal. That's actually intended, I guess, to get stuck inside walls. All right. Oh. So for the beginning of the run, it's important that I have as much MP as I can, just because of the way that spells scale. Spells get cheaper to cast as I get levels, so I only have to worry about MP for the first few dungeons here. So now that we got the tablet to Labyrinthian, here we are in beautiful Labyrinthian. It also looks exactly like it does in Skyrim.
Yep.
It's a huge dungeon. I think it's got like 3 floors, lots of riddle stuff. And when I say riddles, like the game will give you a written out riddle that you have to actually type in the answer for, which is a little crazy. Like they did that in Arena and Daggerfall. So there we go.
Nailed it.
Nice.
We got the second piece of the staff. So as far as the overall story goes here, the Emperor of Elder Scrolls Land was sent away to Oblivion by evil wizard, the guy in the black robes, Jagar Tharn. And the staff he used to capture the Emperor was the Staff of Chaos. So after he captured the Emperor, he split up the Staff of Chaos into... All right.
You.
All right.
It's fine.
Not dead. We're fine. So he split up the Staff of Chaos into 8 parts. So we're essentially going around to each province here, collecting a piece of the Staff of Chaos after doing another fetch quest. Okay. That explosion sound is perfectly fine. It took a little bit of damage, but we're good. Very rarely you get killed during that, but we're fine. No problem. All right. So here we're in the third area. So we already did Hammerfell and Skyrim. This is Valenwood. That's what this is. So the queen won't let us know the location of the next staff piece unless we go deal with the local sorcerer. So now we're going to go off to Celine's Web to go deal with the sorcerer. And wait a second. This isn't Celine's Web. This is Stonekeep.
What? No.
Huh.
I don't know what you're talking
Wonder
about.
how we ended up here. Well, anyways.
Well,
we'll
they
just-
look kind of similar. I mean, besides, the fact that there's walls.
Yeah.
Honestly, I'm a Skyrim runner. I can't
All
tell
right,
what
so
these
we got that.
graphics are.
That looks important, so we got that.
Good enough. Just have to improvise.
Yep. All right, so what's actually going on here is in the most recent patched version of Arena, the most recent one, the most stable, completely normal version of the game. It is stable. You scoff at that, but it is actually stable.
This crash is the least of all the Elder
Yeah,
Scrolls.
it's by far and away the most stable. There was a bug that was introduced into the game that the quest object for the very, very first quest in the game respawns after you go and pick it up. And each time you pick up that object, it marks the current step on your main quest as complete. So you could see why that would be a little game-breaking. There are some other steps you have to do before you can go pick it up. But you could pretty much just do that.
So that was number 6, yeah?
Yeah, that was trip 6 there. So we got 3 pieces of Staff of Chaos. So we eventually get 8. And then in the final dungeon in the game, you're supposed to also get a fire gem or something that powers up the staff. But how it actually looks in your inventory is that it says you have 9 out of 8 pieces of the Staff of Chaos, because sure, that welcome to Elder Scrolls games. All right, so here's Corinth. There is a kind of annoying thing in... Oh, we got it. Sick. Okay, so this is the sleepwalk glitch. So you might have noticed there that we went from day to night to day again very quickly. That's because for whatever reason in this game, you can't sleep or start like a rest period of sleep when you're inside towns, but you can in dungeons. And for whatever reason, you can also move around while you're sleeping in Arena inside dungeons. So whenever you click on something, it exits a sleep state. But the door to exit this first dungeon, Stonekeep, here it is again. You might remember this. To trigger actually leaving the dungeon, you just walk into it instead of clicking on it. So we can keep that sleep going. So if for whatever reason, when you actually got to your destination and it was still nighttime, you could easily change it to day without having to... We did it. We did it. You could very easily switch it over to daytime very quickly. But it's pretty much random whether or not you get an ambush, which would cause that to not work, which is unfortunate. And one of the other nice things about the sleepwalk glitch is that it negates a very slow thing that can happen, which I call a hotbox. You'll see why I call it that when we hopefully never see it, but it's essentially an environmental thing that happens in the game that makes you move at about half speed, just because of the way that the graphics work in this game. It's really unfortunate, but luckily it's getting more and more rare. So here we are again. This is number 4, I think. We did it.
Beautiful pickup there.
Yep. All right, so while we're doing this, I'll shout out again that we have a donation incentive for doing Oblivion any percent. I think it's like 15 grand maybe for that.
That's correct, 15 grand.
15 grand? Okay, so let's let's get that one met, shall we? And another thing you find folks out there watching can do is you can write in and tell us what is the best Elder Scrolls game and why it is Daggerfall.
You mean Two Worlds? Two Worlds is the best Elder Scrolls.
Well, it's the Oblivion killer, but it's not a Daggerfall killer.
Oh.
All right, so the sleepwalk glitch did not work there because the angry man is angry at me there, so I need to turn around and do this. So as you're resting outside, enemies can just show up and wake you up again. So this is just how you lose time in a arena run, just doing this over and over again. So I'm just going to be running to the next place and talking to people and dismissing text boxes. So if you have any donations, now would be an excellent time.
I have quite a few donations.
All right.
We have a $14 anonymous donation. So excited to see Purry Purry, a.k.a. the greatest Twitch streamer ever, speedrun The Elder Scrolls in front of a packed house. Let them see the power of your bucket.
Nice, thank you.
We have a $100 donation from Anonymous again. Oblivion Hype!
Hype.
And by the way, I did just refresh our bid screen, and it looks like we have currently raised $1,700 for Oblivion.
All right.
Out of
getting
15,000.
Nice.
So yeah, definitely get your donations in, because beating Oblivion in 5 minutes, that's quite an accomplishment. It'd also be nice to see the entire Elder Scrolls anthology here in our Bethesda block.
Yeah, definitely. As far as like the running the entire anthology, I do that, and Chops has done it before. It takes a bit under 2 hours to do real time.
Well, for you at least.
Yeah, and unfortunately, a fourth of it is arena. That's just how it goes. It would be nice if we could do like, hey, we'll do the 4 Elder Scrolls and then not arena, but that's not anthology. So here we are again. Remember this place? It's pretty good.
Well done.
We did it.
Excellently clicked on. Clicking on a thing is actually way harder than
Yeah,
it looks like.
it might look like it's super easy to do this, but there is actually movement tech for this. Those wolves that I passed by in the first room there, if you don't hug the walls, a wolf can spawn on top of you and essentially telefrag you.
You have to punch your way out of the wolf, which I did in my PV.
Yep.
It's great.
The current 5th place run of Arena has a man punching a wolf inside the dungeon. Another thing is that there used to be a route change to this. We used to spend about an extra 10 minutes running back to all the towns. And then we actually learned how this glitch actually works, the respawning of the thing. So you might think, why don't I just start one quest, go pick up the... we did it. It was parchment. Go pick up the parchment and then just keep reloading this area and picking it up again. For whatever reason, this glitch only works up to 3 times before talking to a quest person. We have no idea why that's the case. I guess just because Bethesda.
Because Elder Scrolls.
Yeah.
Get used to that.
But that's the case. That's how it works. All right, so Camlorn is one of the places where we are most likely to see Hotbox because naturally it's the longest run. So we might actually get one here. We'll see if the run is blessed with the hotbox.
I'm hoping for it.
All right. Okay, here we go.
Come on,
we'll see.
hotbox.
We'll see. And yep,
Hey,
we got one.
hotbox.
Oh man.
Hotbox.
So what this is we have the distance fog that's like obscuring stuff in front of us, and then there's also this. Here, I'll show it. Like this right there. That's that white cloud texture over that. Because the game has to draw 2 different fog things, it runs the game at half speed for some reason.
Drawing
And-
fog is really difficult.
Yeah. So this is a 94 game, so they can be excused for that, but it's really a bummer to just lose it's almost like 30 seconds each time you get one in a run. So the run might as well be over. Rip.
Is this run over yet?
Almost. We're getting there. I hope you're all on the edge of your seat. All right, so we got that quest with that guy. So the unfortunate thing here with Arena is that a lot of the dungeons are actually pretty cool, as far as like early '90s dungeon exploring stuff goes. But doing that is really slow, so we don't see most of it. Other stuff that would be cool in a don't use this glitch run of this is that there's quite a few other glitches you have at your disposal. We did it. There's glitches in the artifacts that you can use. So if you queue up a artifact that has a spell on it, and then cancel the spell before you actually use it, it just gives you all the MP back for that spell. Again.
Wonderful.
Yeah, which would be nice. And as far as stuff you can actually use to further break the game, is that Arena is pretty unique in that they give you spells to modify the environment. So you might be able to tell that these dungeons are kind of block-based. It's kind of like that for a reason, because you can actually delete and create pieces of the level. So you can get a spell that will blow up a wall, and I believe also a floor. All right, we did it. We're almost done, by the way. We're getting there. So you can destroy walls and destroy floors, and then you can also create walls and create floors. And you can do some weird stuff with that, in that if you delete a floor and then create a wall on top of that deleted floor, it creates a dungeon where that used to be somehow. Not sure why. Yeah, it's bizarre. All right, so we went to High Rock. Okay, so Black Marsh, we're almost there. So there's Black Marsh. This is where the lizard dudes are, Argonians, I think. For whatever reason, in Arena, all the non-human races just kind of look like 80s wrestlers.
Yep.
Not sure why.
Pretty great.
In Daggerfall, they kind of made them more like how they look in the more modern ones, but in Arena, they just didn't bother.
They were too busy making the greatest, most expansive game in 1994.
Oh, yeah. And speaking of expansive, most of this game is actually randomly generated when you leave towns. And the other thing to note is that people usually ask, like, hey, why don't you do a no fast travel run of this? You actually can't do that. Because once you leave any of these places that are marked on the fast travel map, everything else is just up to robots to create. So you could just walk in the same direction as where like Stonekeep is, but you will never find it. So that's actually impossible to do. The other thing that's a little weird with the like procedurally generated or whatever you want to call it for this. Here's this, by the way. We did it. Is that if you actually wander around too long outside of towns and then save the game, I believe it makes your save unusable because it has to store so much data into that save that it just can't anymore. So it just gives up.
It's good DOS right there.
Yeah. So that's why speedrun is always great, because we never corrupt our saves.
Well, in this game, at least.
It's better
Yeah,
than
not
Might and
this
Magic 3, where every time you make a save, it always has to store exactly the same amount of data, regardless of if you made it like on the first turn.
Yeah.
Just instant, like, the equivalent of like a 200 megabyte save
Yep.
these days.
Or like a PS1 game that takes up the whole memory card. I'm looking at you, Hexen. All right, here it is again. Get ready to clap. We did it.
Yeah.
All right. So I think I mentioned earlier that it actually is harder than it looks to pick up that piece of paper. So with the mouse controls here, when you move the cursor to the edges of the screen, it actually turns into like turn controls or movement controls. And when you move the cursor to the bottom of the screen,
It just chooses to go backwards.
yeah, it's
right?
just like, hey, I want to go backwards. No, I want to pick up the piece of paper. Sometimes you just don't have a choice, so that is rougher than it seems. So here's the last spot in the entire run where the game can troll me. And what are we going to get? It didn't troll me. Oh,
Nice.
man.
Sleepwalking.
So I'll mention now that the world record for this is 24:53 by Shizudo Tengoku. Shizu pretty much did the routing for this. For the longest time, Arena was just like, hey, when's Arena runs? And then we'll just laugh and then not actually do it. Because nobody wanted to bother routing this. And Shizu bit the bullet and actually routed this in, was it like early 2015? February 2015 probably?
Sounds about right.
Yeah, because this one was kind of the last hurdle before we could actually start doing anthology runs. So now that we had all that done, we could do runs from 1 to 5. All right, so this was the last run through a city for the rest of the game. It's going to be nothing but Stonekeep from here on out. I hope you're ready.
Just how I like it.
Yes. All right. We got 3 more trips through here. So if you got another donation, now's a great time.
We have a $50 donation from Grant P. Design. Bethesda block. I could use some dog meat. Kill those animals. Very timely applause there. We have a $50 donation from Jake134. Oblivion! We have a $50 donation from ZG Unlimited. Hey, it's ZG Unlimited here.
Is it you?
I had caught your Shenmue 2 90% run last year, and it brought me to tears with how you had destroyed one of my favorite childhood games with glitches, spooky ghosts, and a duck percent. Ever since then, I followed you and never regretted it since. Keep up the good work. Use this $50 worth of Shasta money to choose between the animals, dispute, or anything you want, really. Good luck, Puri. Keep warm and wear a sweater.
I'll try. We're definitely getting a sweater.
I hope so.
Yep.
The vintage Daggerfall.
All right, we got one more trip through. So we currently have 8 out of 8 pieces of the Staff of Chaos, and we're soon to have 9. So at this point in the story, we pretty much have the entire Staff of Chaos all assembled. And then the last dungeon that it sends you to is the Imperial City, where bizarrely enough, there's a boss fight, but you don't actually fight the boss. Instead of fighting the boss, you run behind him and just go pick up an item, because, hey, we've been doing that for the rest of the game anyways. Why would you fight a boss?
In this engine, I don't know, man. It's just wolves.
Yeah. All right. So get ready on time. The ending is hype, by the way.
The ending makes it all worth it.
All right, time. All right, are you ready for the best part?
17
best
pieces
part.
of paper.
Yeah, so we picked up a piece of paper 17 times, and this happens. This is a pretty good payoff for all that hard work we did. So that's a Sims crystal, by the way. Bethesda did it first. Oh, also spook alert. This is pretty spooky and also graphic.
Yeah, this is pretty extreme.
It is.
Mature audiences only.
You must not! The jewel holds my life force!
All right. So we picked up a piece of paper 17 times and made a man's face melt. That's
must
pretty
not.
much Arena.
Hey, it's that guy.
Thou art truly a child of the Empire. I thank thee for thy assistance. I have a particular idea as to the question of your service in mind. From this day forth, thou art named the Eternal Champion. From thy hand shall be dealt the needs of the Empire. I, Uriel Septim, true Emperor of Tamriel, do decree and thus make law. Arise, my champion, and take thy rightful place at my side.
You did it.
All right, we did it. Proving ourselves. So there's a tradition in Arena to show off one of the goofier things in this game. So you might have heard the guy in the black robe who's like, you meddling kids, you scampering rats. That's what he sounds like. He's going to sound a little different in a second.
Do not fear, for it is I.
So for whatever
There
reason,
are no others left to carry on.
they mixed up her audio with his, or with his picture. No idea why. So the other tradition is also that it does that. Arena Fight Club.
All right, here we go.
Oh, I don't think I'm going to win that. Oh, yeah.
Oh,
All right.
destroyed.
Okay, so we're rolling right up into Daggerfall now. Once DOSBox finishes. Okay, it's a DOS prompt.
It's got to emulate everything about DOS.
Yep. Okay, so can we just go straight into Daggerfall? Okay.
All right. What a great start to the Bethesda block. But don't go away, especially if you're Puri Puri, because as Puri Puri